Welcome back to the deep dive. It is Monday morning, February 9th, 2026. And if you are listening to this, you've probably spent the weekend just watching your news feed refresh every 30 seconds or so. Because the situation in Westminster right now is, well, it's intense.
Intense is a very polite way of putting it. It feels more like a vacuum, you know?
Yeah.
The normal machinery of government it's basically stopped, and everyone is just waiting for the loud noise that's about to come next.
Right. And usually we'd be looking at policy shifts, maybe some economic data. But today we have to look at one specific document that seems to be framing the entire narrative this morning. We are doing a deep dive into a piece from The Telegraph, written by their deputy political editor, Daniel Martin.
Before we even get into the content, we have to talk about that byline. Daniel Martin isn't just some random columnist throwing stones. As the deputy political editor at The Telegraph, I mean, he is a major conduit for the establishment.
Yeah.
When he writes a story like this, it's usually because someone very senior likely within the Labor Party, maybe the civil service, wants this information out there.
Exactly. It's a signal, not just a story.
No.
And the headline is what really stops you in your tracks. It reads, "When will Keir Starmer resign? The PM's four options."
Just note the phrasing there. It's not will he resign,
No.
nor is it can he survive.
Mm-hmm.
It is when.
Mm.
That is a shift in the tectonic plates. We've moved from speculation about survival
Yeah.
to the logistics of a funeral.
So our mission today is to figure out how we got from business as usual to funeral logistics in the span of a single weekend. We're going to unpack the specific trigger, these so-called Mandelson-Epstein revelations. We're going to look at the operational collapse inside number 10, specifically the resignation of two senior aides. And then we're going to do what the news snippets haven't done. We're going to walk through those four options Daniel Martin outlined, because if the Telegraph is printing them, they are likely the exact scenarios being debated in the cabinet right now.
That's the roadmap. And it is a grim one for the prime minister.
Let's start with the catalyst. The article refers to this as the Mandelson crisis, but it gets very, very specific. It talks about the Mandelson-Epstein revelations. Now, for anyone who hasn't been following British politics for, 30 years, why is the name Peter Mandelson so heavy?
Well, Peter Mandelson is effectively the architect of modern labor. They used to call him the Prince of Darkness back in the Blair years. He is a master strategist, a survivor, and, someone who has been at the very center of power for decades. He isn't just an avoider, he's a totem of the party's history.
And usually he's the one spinning the crisis, not
causing it, precisely. And that's what makes this so disorienting for the government.
Yeah.
But the revelations mentioned in the source material link him directly to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, we don't need to rehash who Epstein was. Everyone knows that name is just radioactive. It represents a total moral void.
But why is this sticking to Starmer? I mean, Starmer isn't Mandelson.
That's the guilt by association trap. Starmer has leaned so heavily on Mandelson for advice, for legitimacy. When you bring someone that close to the center of power, you inherit their baggage. It's that simple. And the source suggests that these revelations, and that implies new, concrete details about the Mandelson-Epstein relationship, are so toxic that they are poisoning the prime minister by proxy.
Right.
You just can't claim the moral high ground when your chief consigliere is linked to that kind of history.
It creates a question of judgment, doesn't it? Why did you keep him around in the first place?
It creates question of character. And in British politics, you can survive a policy failure. You can survive a bad budget, but you rarely survive a collapse of character.
Which brings us to the immediate fallout. The article gives us a very specific stat that I think is maybe the most damaging part of the whole piece. It says Starmer has lost two senior aides in the space of 48 hours.
This is the detail that tells you the government is paralyzed.
Two people doesn't sound like a lot, though. I mean, number 10 is a big building.
It is. But senior aides aren't just staff. They are the nervous system. These are the people who control the prime minister's diary, who decide which briefing papers he sees, who manage the press, who whip the MPs. When you lose two of those people in 2 days, you aren't just short-staffed. You are lobotomized.
You lose your ability to see and hear what's happening around you.
Correct. And let's just look at the timing. 48 hours in the slow-moving world of Westminster, that is light speed. The resignations at that level are usually choreographed, weeks in advance. There's a letter, a tribute, a whole plan. When they happen over a weekend amidst a scandal, it's not a resignation. It's people fleeing the scene of an accident.
The article calls it a fallout. It really conjures this image of people just grabbing their coats and running before the building collapses.
That is exactly what it is. It's self-preservation. These aides are looking at the Mandelson-Epstein headline and deciding they do not want that on their CVs. And once that starts, it's incredibly hard to stop. It creates a bunker mentality. The PM ends up surrounded by this tiny group of loyalists who are too afraid to tell him the truth, which just leads to even worse decisions.
So the brain trust is gone, the scandal is burning, and now we have Daniel Martin in the Telegraph laying out the roadmap for the end. Let's get into the meat of this article. The PM's 4 options. The headline teases them, but I want to break down what these actually look like in practice.
Let's go through them, because Martin isn't just guessing here. He's likely reflecting the conversations happening in the 1922 committee, or maybe on the labor backbenches.
Okay, option 1. The article suggests an immediate resignation. The clean break.
This is the most brutal option, but, often the most effective for the party, if not the man. Starmer walks out to the podium, effectively today or tomorrow. He says, "I have become a distraction," and he resigns as party leader immediately.
Just rips the Band-Aid off.
Right. In this scenario, he probably stays on as a caretaker prime minister for a few weeks while the party rushes a leadership election, or maybe he hands over to the deputy PM instantly. The advantage here is that it stops the bleeding. The Mandelson-Epstein headlines stop being about the prime minister and start being about the former prime minister. It saves the party's poll ratings.
But for Starmer personally.
It's a humiliation.
Yeah.
It's admitting total defeat in the face of scandal. It destroys his legacy instantly. He becomes a footnote.
Okay, so that's the nuclear option. What is option 2? The article alludes to a managed transition.
This is the Theresa May model. You announce that you will resign, but you set a date in the future. You say, "I will step down once a successor is chosen," or "I will leave after the next legislative session."
It buys time.
It tries to. The logic is that it allows for a more dignified exit. He gets to finish a few projects, do a farewell tour, try to shape how history remembers him. It avoids the chaos of an overnight vacuum.
But does that really work when the crisis is this radioactive?
And that's the problem. You can do a managed transition when the issue is a policy disagreement, like with Brexit. But can you do a managed transition when the issue is a moral scandal involving Jeffrey Epstein? Probably not. The press won't stop asking questions just because you've promised to leave in 3 months. Every single day he stays, the question remains, why is he still here?
It feels like being a lame duck with the pond is on fire.
A very, very apt metaphor.
Okay, option 3. This one seemed a bit more, conspiratorial. The health or family exit.
The human shield. This is a classic political maneuver.
Yeah.
The prime minister announces he is stepping down not because of Mandelson, not because of Epstein, but because of health reasons or family obligations.
It's a classic, I need to spend more time with my family.
Exactly. It's a way to save face. It allows his supporters to say he wasn't pushed, he jumped. It muddies the water.
But surely in 2026, nobody actually buys that.
No, the public generally sees right through it. But for the party, it's sometimes a convenient fiction. It allows the MPs to let him go without having to publicly stab him in the back. It's a gentleman's agreement to pretend it's personal, not political. However, given the severity of the Mandelson-Epstein link, the press might not allow him that dignity. They will write the headline, "Forced out," no matter what he says in the speech.
And finally, option 4. The one that every leader seems to want to take but usually regrets. The fight.
The bunker strategy. Starmer refuses to go. He sacks the dissenters, he promotes the loyalists, and he dares the party to remove him. He says, "I have a mandate from the electorate, and I am staying."
Can he actually do that?
Constitutionally, yes, he's the prime minister.
Right.
But politically, it's suicide. If he refuses to go, the Labour Party machinery has to grind into gear to remove him. You get letters of no confidence. You get cabinet ministers resigning one by one. We've already seen 2 aides go. Just imagine if the Home Secretary walks out tomorrow.
It becomes a war of attrition.
And the prime minister almost always loses that war. The government grinds to a halt. The markets react. The currency might wobble. It turns a political crisis into a national crisis. Martin lists this as an option, but in reality, it's the kamikaze option. It burns the house down with him inside it.
So we have immediate resignation, the long goodbye, the health excuse, or the kamikaze fight. When you look at those 4, and you look at the fact that he's already lost his top 2 aides, which way is the wind blowing?
Well, look at the data points we have. The aides leaving in 48 hours suggests the fight option is already failing. You can't fight if your soldiers are deserting. The long goodbye requires patience from the party, which is likely in very short supply given the nature of the scandal.
So we're looking at option 1 or option 3.
I'd suspect a blend. A resignation announcement very soon, perhaps within days, dressed up with some language about family or the good of the country. but effectively an immediate capitulation.